Chapter 203. Entering. Alright, it's almost time, let's chat here. Next time I see you again, you must be promoted to inner disciple. I'm waiting for the chance to challenge you. Soon after, Lei Yun patted Kang Chon's shoulder and said goodbye. I definitely will. I'm just afraid that you still won't be my opponent by then. Kang Chon's eyes flickered with essence and said with a confident expression, Then we'll see. Thundercloud sniffed with the same face of wariness. On the side, Jin San Xiao waved his hand at the crowd and said, Let's go. Let's let these two perverts continue to duke it out. Ha ha ha. The crowd couldn't help but chuckle. In the midst of laughter, Kang Chon bid farewell to Jin San Xiao and the others. He looked at the backs of the crowd as they disappeared into the sky, before he slowly returned to Dark Gold Peak. I didn't expect that in the blink of an eye, all these guys have already become inner disciples. I have to work harder too, and strive to quickly cultivate the 9 turns Zhuanggong to the 4th layer and break through the Yuanying stage. Walking back, Kang Chon thought in his heart. This time Jin San Xiao and their collective breakthrough to the Yuanying stage had caused a very big impact on him. Especially seeing that all of them could go back to the Great Tang country together, he had some bad feelings in his heart. Kid, cultivate well. When you are strong in the future, you can go wherever you want. The sky and the earth are as big as you want. In his mind, the Dan Emperor's comfort was transmitted. Kang Chon nodded his head, then gathered his mood and traveled towards his cabin. Boom! Right at this moment, a terrifying will came across the sky, and Kang Chon immediately felt his eyelids darken and lost consciousness. By the time Kang Chon recovered, he had already found himself in a dark palace. Kang Chon was shocked in his heart. What was going on? He nervously looked around before he breathed a sigh of relief. This dark palace was very familiar to him. It was none other than the palace of his master, the Law Enforcement Elder. At this moment, the Law Enforcement Elder was sitting up there, waiting for Kang Chon to adjust his mind. Disciple pays homage to master. Condensing his mind, Kang Chon respectfully bowed to the Law Enforcement Elder. But in his heart, he was burying this cheap master. Obviously all on top of the Dark Gold Peak, so close, and using this method to move him directly here. It was really depressing enough. The Elder of Law Enforcement didn't know what was in Kang Chon's mind. Seeing Kang Chon immediately recovering from the panic, his eyes couldn't help but flash a trace of appreciation. Then said in a deep voice, Not bad. During this period of time you've been cultivating very hard, and your progress has been good. You've already practiced the 2nd layer of the 9 turns of Zhuanggong. However, cultivating behind closed doors is ultimately the end of the road. It's time for you to go out and experience. Striving to practice the 4th layer of the 9 turns Zhuanggong towards the end of the day. Senior, are you saying that you want me to go and take up sect missions? Kang Chon couldn't help but ask. He was very smart and instantly guessed what the Law Enforcement Elder meant. In fact, with his current cultivation, there was no way for him to leave the Heavenly Dao sect, so he could only take on some sect tasks to do. The Law Enforcement Elder looked at the pale sky below. A strange light flashed in his eyes as he shook his head, and said, It's not a sect mission. It's to enter the secret realm. Secret realm. Kang Chon frowned at the words. He had been in the Heavenly Dao sect for so long, but he had only heard of the Heavenly Dao secret realm. It was rumored that only Yuanying stage cultivators were able to enter the Heavenly Dao secret realm to cultivate. Could it be that Master has asked me to enter the Heavenly Dao secret realm? That's not right. Cultivation levels below the Yuanying stage or above the Yuanying stage are not allowed to enter the Heavenly Dao secret realm. Kang Chon was very clear about the conditions for entering the Heavenly Dao secret realm. Thus he was puzzled. Could it be that the Heavenly Dao sect still had secret realms that he didn't know about? He couldn't help but look at the Law Enforcement Elder in confusion, waiting for the Law Enforcement Elder to explain. The Law Enforcement Elder glanced at Kang Chon and said indifferently, But all cultivators of the 9 revolutions, Zhuanggong, must travel to a secret realm to cultivate, because only there will you be able to break through to the 4th layer of the 9 revolutions Zhuanggong before the ushering stage. There is such a thing. Although disciple feels that the 9 revolutions Zhuanggong is very difficult to practice, but as long as I am given 10 years, I will definitely be able to practice the 4th layer of the 9 revolutions Zhuanggong. Kang Tian frowned, then said with a confident expression. He wasn't talking big words, but the truth. With the help of the dragon's blood pill, he was completely confident that he would be able to practice the 3rd layer within 5 years. And it wasn't impossible to practice the 4th layer within 10 years. The law enforcement elder heard this, but shook his head and said, "Your talent is indeed good, but it's also because your talent is too strong. Even if you suppress your cultivation now, your cultivation is actually still growing slowly. When you practice the 3rd layer of the 9 revolutions Zhuanggong, you won't be able to suppress your cultivation anymore, and you will have to break through to the ushering stage at that time." Kang Tian's heart immediately shook when he heard this. Then his face was filled with bitter smiles. In fact, he had also discovered this problem. The talent of Kang Tian hegemony blood was too strong. Even if he suppressed his cultivation and didn't cultivate, the Kang Tian hegemony blood in his body was automatically absorbing the spiritual qi of the heavens and earth from the outside, causing his cultivation to grow. In the end, I'm afraid that it would really be like what the law enforcement elder had said, that he would break through to the ushering stage ahead of time, before he could practice the 4th layer of the 9 revolutions Zhuanggong. Senior, what is the wonderful use of that secret realm he mentioned that would allow me to practice the 4th layer of the 9 revolutions Zhuanggong before the ushering stage? Kang Tian couldn't help but ask. That secret realm is called the spirit sealing space. As the name suggests, in there, not only are you unable to absorb the spiritual qi of the heavens and earth, but you are also unable to mobilize the spiritual energy in your body. In short, in the spirit sealing space, you can only survive with the strength of your physical body, and you can't use anything about heaven and earth spiritual qi. The law enforcement elder said indifferently. Kang Tian couldn't help but be very surprised when he heard this, that such a secret realm existed. He couldn't help but become a little curious. If the spirit sealing space was really as the law enforcement elder had said, then cultivating the 9 revolutions Zhuanggong in it would indeed be the best choice. Master, since the spirit sealing space is so wonderful, disciple is willing to go in. Just where is this spirit sealing space? Kang Tian then asked. The spirit sealing space is in a faraway place, but there is a teleportation array to the spirit sealing space in the Heavenly Tao sect. So go back and get ready first, and come back here 3 days later, the law enforcement elder said. Kang Tian nodded at his words, then saluted and retired. On the way back to the cabin, Kang Tian pondered over the law enforcement elder's words in his mind. And in his heart, he couldn't help but feel a hint of curiosity towards that mysterious spirit sealing space. What kind of place was that? Kid, didn't your 3rd senior brother send you a map last time? It seems to be the map of the spirit sealing space. Emperor Dan's voice suddenly sounded in his mind. Kang Tian stopped in his tracks when he heard this. He remembered that when he came to Dark Gold Peak, all 3 senior brothers had given him a gift. The 1st senior brother had given him the blood sword. The 2nd senior brother had given him the green Jiao essence blood. And the 3rd senior brother had been the strangest, giving him a map. At that time, he was very curious. But then he only had cultivation in his mind, so he forgot about it. And now that Emperor Dan mentioned it, he instantly remembered. Remembering that the map that 3rd senior brother had given him back then seemed to be the map of the spirit sealing space. Wow! Under the waterfall next to the wooden house, Kang Tian sat on top of a rounded boulder and watched the information on the spirit sealing space. The map of the spirit sealing space given to him by 3rd senior brother at the beginning also contained a portion of the information inside the spirit sealing space. Kang Qian hadn't cared about it before, but now that he was about to travel to the spirit sealing space, he naturally had to make preparations beforehand. The map of the spirit sealing space was very simple. There were only 3 cities and 3 battlefields. Other than that, it was an endless desert. Every cultivator who entered the spirit sealing space had to pass through the 3 cities and enter the 3 battlefields to practice. It was said that one could only leave the spirit sealing space if their physical body strength reached the level of a treasure weapon. It seems that Master has something to hide. This spirit sealing space is not simple. Kang Qian put away the jade slip, and an aura flashed across his violet eyes. Although the information contained in this map was not much, it did allow him to see the cruelty of the spirit sealing space. It was a dangerous place in which one could only rely on physical strength and nothing else could be used. Including magic treasures, one could only rely on their hardness, and divine spells could not be used for anything. Clearly, the spirit sealing space was a place where the physical body was supreme. However, there are only opportunities when there are challenges. If you want to practice the 9-turn Zhuanggong, you can only head to the spirit sealing space. Battle intent erupted in Kang Qian's eyes as he woke up Xiaojin, who was in cultivation, and after sweeping a glance at the small wooden hut that he had lived in for 5 long years, he brought Xiaojin along to the Black Palace, where the law enforcement elder was located. Only in the spirit sealing space could he practice the 4th layer of the 9 revolutions Zhuanggong. Kang Qian had no choice. He could only fight once. After all, the power of the 9 revolutions Zhuanggong was obvious to all, and he didn't want to give up this powerful technique. Inside the Black Palace, where the Elder of Law Enforcement was located, Kang Qian and Little Gold bowed respectfully, and Little Gold looked at the Elder of Law Enforcement above him with a somewhat restrained expression. As a Vajra divine monkey, he was able to sense the might of the law enforcement elder, so he was very apprehensive in his heart. Vajra divine monkey, you kid is lucky. This kind of powerful divine beast left over from the ancient times was actually met by you. In the future, he will be a powerful aid for you. As the law enforcement elder looked at Little Gold below, a light flashed through his golden eyes and a hint of a smile appeared on his face. Kang Qian was not surprised that the law enforcement elder recognized Little Gold's origin with a single glance, as he knew that the moment he became the law enforcement elder's disciple, he was afraid that the Heavenly Tao sect had already checked out his details. After all, it was impossible for the Heavenly Tao sect to accept a person of unknown origin as a disciple. Moreover, above the dark gold peak, many law enforcement disciples knew that Kang Qian had a spirit monkey by his side. But I'm afraid that only the law enforcement elder and those 3 senior brothers knew Xiaojin's true origins. Senior, I'm ready, Kang Qian respectfully said. Good. This seat will now send you to the spirit sealing space. This little monkey will also go with you. Cultivating there will also be very beneficial to him, the law enforcement elder said. Kang Qian nodded. He had been prepared to bring Little Gold along. After all, Little Gold's physical body was very powerful, not much inferior to him, and in the spirit sealing space, he would definitely be a helper. Soon after, with a movement of the law enforcement elder's mind, Kang Qian and Little Gold immediately felt a spinning of the heavens and the earth. All the surrounding scenes blurred, and even the space began to distort. This phenomenon made Kang Qian think of a teleportation array. Wasn't this exactly what happened when riding a teleportation array? After about 3 breaths of time, Kang Qian and Xiaojin gradually recovered, and at this moment, they had already arrived in front of an ancient and simple teleportation array. This teleportation array appeared very old, and it was unknown how many years ago it was established. Around the altar of the teleportation array, there towered a strange statue, carved on it as if it was a powerful divine beast, each of them staring angrily with stern eyes. Kang Qian and Little Gold stood in front of the teleportation array. curiously surveying the surroundings. This is the teleportation array to the spirit sealing space. Remember, don't have any softness of heart in the spirit sealing space. There, almost everyone is your enemy. Killing is your only option. The enforcement elder's voice came from the sky. And then, Kang Chon noticed that the teleportation array in front of him began to emit a faint cyan-colored glow. Kang Chon and Xiao Jing glanced at each other and stepped into the teleportation array together. And, with a blinding light, this person and monkey disappeared into space. Hoo. A fierce hurricane was raging, and a continuous sandstorm covered the entire sky. It was an endless desert.